Okay, students, we are starting our new chapter today. This is about diffusion and osmosis. By the end of today's lesson, you would be able to define osmosis, diffusion, and active transport. You would be able to tell the difference between these three with their examples. We will also look on the importance of water potential gradient in uptake of water by the plants. Let's get on with the definitions first. Diffusion is the net movement of ions or molecules from a region where they are in higher concentration to a region where they are in lower concentration, or you can simply say that it is the net movement of ions or molecules down the concentration gradient or along the concentration gradient. All these expressions are correct. If you see here in the beaker, the molecules of water are being diffused out of the container. So we can predict here that this diffusion can take place in liquid as well as in gases. It can only take place when there is a concentration gradient. It means it will happen only when there is a difference in the concentration on both the side. If the molecules of the gas were equally distributed in the environment and in the beaker, there would have been no net movement of molecule ions, and we would say that there was no diffusion. So for diffusion to take place, it is important that the diffusion gradient or concentration difference should be there. It requires no partially permeable membrane. The partially permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane or cell membrane is not there, should be there. No energy is required for diffusion to take place. And the next point is, steeper the diffusion gradient, fast the rate of the diffusion. Steeper the diffusion gradient means that the concentration difference should be greater for fast rate of diffusion. If the concentration difference would be less, like 40% here and 60% here, the diffusion rate won't be that fast compared to a scenario where there were 90% molecules here and 10% outside. So for diffusion rate to be fast, the concentration difference between the two areas should be more. This is the diagram to elaborate the process of diffusion. If you see here, the molecules were more concentrated on the corner, and eventually they distributed themselves throughout the block, which state this is called. It is called dynamic equilibrium. When molecules, the net molecules movement becomes negligible or insignificant, and the molecule distribute themselves around the apparatus or around the atmosphere equally. Here in this diagram, you see that we took a glass of water. In it we poured some ink drops. The blue ink molecules would distribute themselves equally in the glass of water, and when they have equally distributed themselves in the water, we will say that we have achieved dynamic equilibrium, that the molecules have distributed themselves equally. The net movement of molecules of ink are zero. Here in this diagram, in the key, you can see the orange circles are of solute and the other ones are of solvent. The solute molecules were greater on this side, and they started to move in the tank in a way that eventually they reached dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium is achieved when molecules distribute themselves in the system equally. Okay. Osmosis is a special kind of diffusion. What does it mean? That osmosis does happen when molecules move from higher to lower region, higher concentration area to lower concentration area. But what kind of molecules are involved? Only water molecules. Whenever there would be movement of water molecules from region of higher water potential to region of lower water potential through a partially permeable membrane, we'll say that this is osmosis. So in contrast to diffusion, if you see that osmosis restricts the movement only to water molecules, no other molecules are involved in osmosis, plus partially permeable membrane is also required. But like diffusion, there is no energy requirement. In the diagram, if you see, the circles in blue color are of water and those of green are of solute. you see that water molecules are greater on this side and lesser on this side. So they will move from region of higher water potential to area of lower water potential through a partially permeable membrane. This movement is indicated by an arrow shown in blue color. This will raise the water level or solution level here in this side of the beaker compared to this one because of the movement of water molecules from higher water potential to lower water potential. On the other hand, if you want to look on the solute molecules, you see their movement is restricted. They are not moving from this side to this side. It may be because of their higher molecular weight. If they were of smaller molecular weight, they could have gone from this side to this one, but that movement would have been called diffusion, not osmosis. Like I said, that osmosis, the term osmosis is restricted only for water molecule movement, not of any other molecule or particle. If other molecules or particles are moving from region of their higher concentration to region of their lower concentration, that would be called as diffusion, not osmosis. And that diffusion would not require energy like osmosis, nor it will require a partially permeable membrane, unlike osmosis. In osmosis, you need to have a partially permeable membrane. This is active transport. Let's see its definition first. It is a process in which energy is used to move the particles of a substance from a region where they are in lower concentration to a region where they are in higher concentration. That is against the concentration gradient. So you see it is reverse of osmosis and diffusion. Here the movement of molecules or ions or substances or particles is from the area of low concentration to the area of higher concentration. It would be through a partially permeable membrane and with the use of energy. So you see there are many differences in active transport that we see. First of all, that it is the movement of molecules and particles against the concentration gradient. Against the concentration means that molecules are moving from lower concentration area to the area of their higher concentration. Second point is that it would require energy. Where from this energy would come? It will come from the process of respiration. Respiration is the breakdown of glucose in the presence of oxygen in order to release energy in the form of ATP. If you remember, respiration happens only in living cells because living cells have functioning mitochondria where respiration takes place. So we can say that active transport would always take place in living cells. It won't be happening in dead cells. Living cells can respire, they can produce energy, and that energy can be used to pump ions or molecules or particles against their concentration gradient through a partially permeable membrane. This is another diagram to explain you the phenomenon of active transport. If you see, the green molecules on this side are in lower concentration, while on the upper side they are in higher concentration. When they are moving from the area of their low concentration to the area of their high concentration, they required energy, which is in the form of ATP. This gray structure is indicating the structure of cell membrane, whose structure you will read in A levels. One thing more that you will read in A levels is the need of a carrier, which is shown by blue color. This blue color carrier is facilitating the movement of molecules from area of low concentration to the area of high concentration. For now, you just have to remember 3 points. That is, active transport is the movement of molecules against a concentration gradient. Second point, it requires energy from respiration. Third point, that it will happen across a cell membrane or partially permeable membrane or selectively permeable membrane. Okay, let's see the examples of active transport in animals and in plants. In animals, maybe you would have heard about it before, but let me repeat that in animals, in small intestine, there are some villi. Villi are finger-like projection which helps in absorption. What absorption? of glucose and amino acid. Both of these are taken up by small intestine into the villi by active transport. It means that we need to have energy to let glucose and amino acid be absorbed in villi in small intestine. What about plants? In plants, root hair cell absorbs certain ions and mineral salts against their concentration gradient, that is by active transport with the use of energy. You have to remember about nitrate ions and magnesium ions particularly. These ions are taken up by root hair cell by active transport. We also need to know about their use and their deficiency symptoms, that what will happen if we lack nitrate and magnesium ions in a soil where we have grown our plants. First, let's see what their uses are. Nitrate ions are required for formation of proteins. Nitrate ions would combine with glucose. This glucose comes from photosynthesis. When nitrate ions are absorbed by the root hair cells, they will combine with glucose to form amino acids. Amino acids are building block of proteins that they will combine to form proteins. Magnesium, we have read it before, that it is required for the formation of chlorophyll, which is a green pigment in chloroplast. And what does it do? It absorbs sunlight for the process of photosynthesis. Okay, so what will happen if the plant lack magnesium ion or it lacks nitrate ions? We have read that magnesium is required for formation of chlorophyll. So when a plant would lack this ion, it means there will be less formation of chlorophyll. Less chlorophyll will turn the leaves yellow, or this yellowing of the leaves is also called chlorosis, which is shown in the diagram here. You can see how the leaf is losing its green pigment. Low rate of photosynthesis would be happening because of the lack of chlorophyll. Less photosynthesis means low formation of glucose, because the end product of photosynthesis is glucose. Less glucose means less respiration. Less respiration ultimately results in less production of energy. When a plant has less energy, it won't be able to carry out active transport that efficiently. So you see, it is a series of reaction that is happening just because of the lack of magnesium ion. Magnesium ions required for chlorophyll, when are deficient in the soil, would turn the leaves yellow. This lack of magnesium would cause reduction in the rate of photosynthesis, reduction in the formation of glucose, reduction in the process of respiration. Less energy would be produced and the active transport process would also reduce. Let's see nitrate ions now. What if the plant lacks nitrate ions? As I told you before, these nitrate ions combine with glucose to form proteins. First, they form amino acid, and amino acid combine to form proteins. Proteins are required to form newer cells. If you remember from our first lesson, I told you that cell membrane is made up of lipids and proteins, fats and proteins. So if a plant does lack proteins, it won't be able to make newer cell membranes. Newer cells won't be formed. It will result in restricted or stunted or poor growth. Less proteins means less formation of low protoplasm. Low protoplasm would be formed, fewer newer cells would be formed. Leaves can also turn yellow, but the main symptom is the poor growth or stunted or restricted growth. Okay, next topic is importance of water potential gradient in the uptake of water by the plants. If you remember, I have covered this topic in the topic of xylem vessel, but let me repeat here. And when I we read about root hair cell, I also told you this, but I am repeating here. This R indicated cell is called root hair cell. It has a long protrusion. This long protrusion facilitates more absorption of ions and water because of large surface area. So our topic is that what is the importance of water potential gradient? Water potential gradient means difference in water levels or water concentration. To understand this point, just consider water concentration difference. So water in the soil was more compared to the cell R, which is root hair cell. So by osmosis, water moved from higher water potential to lower water potential through a partially permeable membrane. Now water in the cell R is greater than in cell A, so water would move again by osmosis from the cell R, whose water potential gradient was higher than A. Water would move from R to A, then A to B, and then B to C because of osmosis, because of the water potential gradient. That water behind the each cell was greater in amount compared to the cell itself. So water kept on moving into the cell one by one because of this difference in water potential. Remember this, that these magnesium and nitrate ions would be taken up by root hair cell by active transport, while water would come into the root hair cell by osmosis and into the adjacent cells, that is A, B and C, by osmosis.